Founders do not need to stay stuck. Scaling is a science. There's a reason that the PayPal Mafia built more than $22 billion businesses. Scaling isn't about the right hire. It's about the right systems and processes. You were put on this earth to do great things, and you can only do that if you can do it at scale. Your vision without a system is just a dream. When you engineer repeatable processes and lean in on data, you stop reacting to the chaos and start creating predictable, sustainable growth. Systems turn ambition into action. If you'll simply build processes, you can build freedom. In the heart of every breakthrough lies the discipline to follow your plan day in and day out until the results speak louder than the noise. Growth favors the prepared. Clarity beats chaos every single time. You can empower your team with structure. Success is engineered, not accidental. Your scale moment starts right now. You made it. Day 3. Here we go. Built to scale. The day that we've been planning for this whole time. We're talking about we are going to get into your 90-day reset plan, and we are going to help you leave here just absolutely ready to go out and change the course of your business and maybe even your life. And so we have just covered a ton of stuff in the last 2 days. And I hope that you've been able to take small pieces, reframe your mindset, and actually start to put things into action. Because information alone will not save you. It will not change what's happening in your world. Implementation, action will. So have a default for action, right? Take the next best step today. Don't worry about whether or not you have perfect information. Worry about whether or not you can take a single step, because that is what is going to change the course of your history and the way that you're able to build the business that you're building. I am so excited that you're here. We've been able to get you back in the room and have a conversation. If you're joining us from all the other places and platforms that we're broadcasting to, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and then I'm sure there's some other place I don't even know about because our engineer is too darn good. So I'm really, really fired up that you're here because I think today is the day that we're going to bring all the things together that we've started to talk about. But I want to start with one specific point, that if you don't fix the failure points, you will be stuck at the same revenue while somebody else is installing this operating system. Don't take that lightly. Action is what's required. As we talked about yesterday, you've got almost 60%, 57% to be specific, of sales reps missing quota, and they missed it last year. Stalled processes erode pipeline by 30%. And so it's not about having that individual fix. That's not how you get to scalability, is by hiring the unicorn salesperson. You get to scalability by putting the systems and processes in place that help that even if you hired the best salesperson, the best salespeople, helps them become superstars. But your systems and processes will be the absolute weak point. I was on Twitter this morning. Yes, I'm 53 and somehow I still go on Twitter sometimes. And I saw something coming from a rep who had talked about how he had changed jobs, I think 3 times in the last 5 years. And the reason I bring this up is because he has a very good point. He left 2 of them because of management. The third one, he went into a management position with a brand new startup, which we can already tell based upon what we've done in the last 2 days why that didn't work. But back it up to why he left the first 2. All the HR lore that you're going to see says people leave companies because of their managers, not their companies. But it's not about the managers. It's about the systems and processes that are enabling the manager to enable the reps. We have a problem. We have a problem in business. When we don't understand the solution, we blame the individual. Let me say that again. When we don't understand what the solution should be or the action we should take, we blame the individual. And we've got to be looking for ways to reset that so that your business is not susceptible to the people who have institutional knowledge about a thing, meaning you too, because your institutional knowledge is holding you back as well. So what are we going to talk about today? How are we going to absolutely slam this thing home and make you feel like this was the most valuable hour that you've spent doing anything in your entire day? So we're going to talk about a few things. One, we're going to talk about the 5 failure points that stop scale in its tracks. I'm going to walk you through your 90-day reset plan. How do you take action on the things we've already talked about? I'll share with you a case study about a client who has actually done these things. And then I'm going to talk to you, if it's appropriate, about what the next steps could be for you. And so we're going to go through this, but I want to know, like, if you're just thinking about, think out there in the world, what's your biggest fear if you don't fix your failure points for scaling your business? Because let's actually come to terms with it, people. Let's address it. Let's not hide from ourselves, right? So I want to make sure that we're able to do those things. Kareem, if you want to go ahead and pull up the PowerPoint, that'd be great. Or iPad, as I should say, as you all have figured out by day 3, this isn't PowerPoint, this is the thing. So we're going to talk about the 5 failure points that stop scale. And let's think about these from under the lens of what we've talked about. What are the myths or beliefs that you've been told to believe that when it comes to why you can't scale or why you can? Because I think we've demystified why some of those are false. So think about it from that perspective, and then think about it in your business. One of the things that we had one person come up on stage on day 1, and I said, look, if you're rating stuff a 4 and a 5 on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the best, you're probably giving yourself too much grace. Because I'm going to be brutally honest with y'all. If you scored 5 on a Revheat operating system diagnostic, the quiz, right, which you can find the paper version in the Facebook group, and then we have an online version that you can go to as well. But if you found that and you scored yourself a 5 on all these categories, you're in the wrong room. Because we're talking about how to fix things. And we want to make sure that you're honest with yourself, because that's where it starts. You want a new future? I'm going to show you how to get there. There's 2 immutable points about any presentation I've ever given. One is, if what you're doing is working, don't change anything. 2, be honest with yourself. All right, here we go. Let's talk about this. The 5 failure points that can stop scale. So first, no repeatable processes. Everything is done in a bespoke manner. Now, you've got to ask yourself the questions about, what does a repeatable process actually mean? Right? And that's really, do I have a consistent approach to every deal that everybody can execute upon? Because one of the things you need to know is that every time a rep deviates, you lose margin. Every time a rep deviates from a repeatable process, you lose margin. Right? We talked about yesterday, how do we identify and bring the things together that tell us how to align stages and what the exit criteria are and what the buyer is trying to accomplish in each one of those stages. And I can prove it to you, because the data says 70% of leaders say reps ignore formal processes. I've interviewed no less than 10 reps as part of a client engagement that we're doing right now in the last week and a half. And we're in there because of the fact that we can help with process. And there's a distinct difference between what real process looks like and what your reps think it looks like. So understand, when they say they're following a process, you need to inspect it. Because when they ignore formal sales processes, your deal cycles get 30% longer. So let's see. So if a rep deviates, you lose margin, and it takes you longer to get that cheaper deal. How often do your reps deviate from your process? And are they deviating because they need to, because they've got to figure out and do the mental muscle and get through the friction because you haven't properly documented it the way that you need to? And then you haven't properly trained it. We're hiring 3 reps for a client right now. The number 2 thing we started on, right? Number 3, after job descriptions and compensation, the number 3 thing that we started working on was sales enablement. How do we onboard them properly, which goes into what we'll talk about next. But I'm going to make you uncomfortable. Own it. Right? So no repeatable process, absolutely stop scale, and you can probably see why. It just is almost inevitably in the words. So that's a point that we want to make sure we watch out for. Number 2, as I started talking about, is this poor hiring, fit, and ramping. Right? What does that look like? We talked yesterday, right? We talked yesterday about, 30, 60, 90 plans. How many of you have one and that it's actually executed against? How many of you hire and have without a profile? You don't even know what you're really looking for other than somebody who can speak the words. Right? Here's the other thing, right? Structured hiring profiles hire 50% faster and reduce churn by 40. Wait a second. Do you mean that I can get somebody in faster who will stay longer and they'll make me more money? Yes. So what is it we want? And it's not just about being able to tell somebody to make 30 dials, because we have to empower them with a process. Right? And we do that as an example through where'd it go? We do that through a process that we embed in companies called QuotaFit. From job description to onboarding. Right? Remember, one of the tips we gave out in the last 2 days, what do you need to do when you're in a hiring process? Stop selling your company in the first interview and interview. Make them audition. What do you do when? How can you tell me that you have a sales process? What is your sales process steps? What do your conversion rates look like when you talk to people? What are you trying to accomplish in a discovery call? How long does it typically take you to close a deal? If nothing else, go grab this replay after we're done, take those questions and stick them into interview 1. I promise you, you'll become a genius at hiring. Right? So those are things we have to think about. Because let's put it this way, the average turnover in sales reps is 30% per year. The average sales rep stays with a company less than 18 months. I think it's like 17. That's average. That's including the companies who all have all their stuff together. We had a client who hired us, and we went in and we started doing the stuff, and they were based out of the West Coast. And what we got into, we found out something interesting. That they had hired another 12 sales reps over the last 3 years. They had 5 kind of core reps who'd been there longer than that. All 12 of them failed. Is that on the person or is that on the system? Right? Maybe we hired wrong. We ramped them wrong. And you want to know how expensive that is? Because every one of those people took 18 months before they were fired. And the company paid their salaries for 18 months apiece. So if it were 10 people, that's 180 months of salespeople salaries in 3 years. That's insane. Right? So we want to understand these things, 30, 60, 90. What's the profile? What does their role scorecard look like? Scorecard look like? We talked about this yesterday. What does success look like in the role? Right? These are things that we need to explain to them, because if we can't tell them what success looks like, are you going to let them decide for you? Right? Poor hiring and fit. And think about the stress it causes you. Anyone ever had that one person, I don't care if it's a sales rep or somebody else, who every time you talk to him, you're just like, oh my gosh, this is aggravating. And it's someone who reports to you? And then you just try to stop talking to them and you avoid them, hoping the problem will go away. Which we know it doesn't tend to. That's just not how problems work, no matter how much we try. All right, so let's see now. See if I can get my pencil to do the right stuff. All right, almost all the right stuff. All right, so what's next? Here's one that is going to be interesting, because a lack of a coaching cadence. We talked yesterday that the average company who spends 3+ hours helping coach and do deals with their reps, not do deals, but coach, pipeline reviews, right? Sell 30% more. And the struggle is, you may not like coaching cadences. You may not know how to sales coach. You may only know how to give them the advice about what you would do. And that's not coaching, because they become more reliant on you when you can actually tell them what to do. Right? Because then they just come back to you for all the answers. You ever have that one rep who walks into your office and says, basically, and the question is like always really long. Let me give you some context. Your eyes roll in the back of your head. You try not to let anybody see it. And then you're trying to get back to your day. So you say, I would go do this, right? Or they say, I need to write an email to Jane. And you go, well, I'd write something like this. And they're taking furious notes. And you're like, okay. And then you look at the email later, and all they did was copy what you said. We call those people with a low figure it out factor. The lack of coaching. So how do we coach more? Because we think that you should be coaching 50% of the time as a manager, right? And that is on average team size. So with one person versus 10 people on your team, that might be different. So I'm going to just show you quickly one of the things that we do, because we've started to incorporate technology. And there it is. So we've incorporated technology into what we do. So we actually now use AI. Right? So we actually have AI characters that are set up based upon specific goals that we can role play with, that we can do deal qualifications with, those types of things. And we have dashboards of our team members, what's happening, how long they're talking. This is just if I was a user on this platform. So just here's an example. So we have Sensei, Taylor Reeves here. And Taylor, what we did here is we built this with my 20+ years of sales experience, the $1 billion of sales experience that we have in industry, put all of that stuff in the rubrics up into the atmosphere, loaded it into Taylor, and said, okay, Taylor, help people understand where they are in their deals. Are they qualified? How can we make them better? And what the next steps should be. So you literally just kind of talk through the deal with Taylor. Right. And then you have Oscar as an example. Well, that's a potential persona that we would cold call, or we would do other deal reviews with, or we'd be somewhere else where we'd do a demo with, and we'd get rated on that, and we can see their progress. And then all I have to do is mandate that my people do it and make sure that I hold them accountable. I mean, think about how much easier it would be how much easier it might be just to talk to Taylor. Hey, Taylor, what's up? And then, of course, live technology, because he can't hear me because I have the screen muted. So anyway, point is, we would go in here and Taylor would be listening to me and we'd be having a conversation and I would get hard recommendations that come back. That's how we think about coaching. Everybody wants to act like everything is bespoke. The truth is, if you're trying to get to a certain place with a certain set of people, with a certain ICP, we can formalize a process around how to coach. And you should be looking to do that too. So that's one of the ways that we do it, because we have Close Genie, which we do work with the public. This is something that when you look at using our Smart Scale 90 process, we actually give you 3 months for free. But just so that you understand, there are ways we can use AI without actually losing ourselves to it. Because a lot of people want to incorporate it, but are scared of how they'll implement it and whether or not it'll make their company look the way they want. So we can keep things like this internally, and you can improve the quality of your deals and calls with your staff. So coaching cadences. I'm going to tell you right now that if you're not doing a couple different cadences, you're probably struggling with your team. So one is you need to do these one-on-ones. Those one-on-ones are about how they can get better, right? How do they get better? What's on their plate? These are improvement conversations. You also need to be having a deal review, a pipeline review. And depending on how fast your cadence is, that'll tell you how often you need to do it, right? How urgent things might be. If you got a 6-month cadence of your sales cycle, maybe you're only doing these monthly, right? If you have a 3-month cadence of your sales cycle and you're handling more deals, maybe you're doing these weekly. But the big thing I'm going to tell you about this is do not combine them. Because once you just told me my pipeline stunk, or that I'm focused on my pipeline, how open do you think I'm going to be to having a conversation with you that's more emotionally charged about my future, about what I can do better? One of the biggest mistakes I make, they go, oh, yeah, I have one-on-ones. I go, what do you talk about? And there's one of two things. Either they combine both of these aspects or there's no structured agenda. So if you're going to do something along coaching, if you're going to do something along coaching, you need to make sure that you're very, very clear about what you're doing. All right. So lack of coaching. I think we've made that clear. Like I said, Close Genie, that's the way that we do it, and we scale it because we know that we need our sales managers doing other stuff. And quite frankly, your sales managers are generally never taught, or you as a founder are never taught how to actually do coaching. Isn't that amazing? It's probably the most important lever you can pull in your business, and there's no formal training. That's why we lean into it so hard. All right, so what else do we have going on here? What is another thing that can really stop us? Well, one, misaligned metrics. What's important in your business? And what does that mean? Like if your rep chases the wrong metrics, you'll die by inches. Well, at least they're chasing metrics, but if they're wrong. So as an example, if they're chasing the next, like say you have 3 pieces of things that you can sell people, right? And they like one particular piece of the technology stack you're selling more than the others. But this one also happens to be the most custom, which by the way is what a lot of people do. Well, if it's the most custom, it's probably the one that also costs you the most and may have you the least amount of margin. Right? So that's a first example. They might be deciding what they want to do because we haven't been clear about what the metrics are. The other component of this is they could be chasing the wrong metrics. As an example, like they could be saying, what I'm trying to win is total number of deals. Well, and what does that mean? Well, because they're trying to get total number of deals and maybe they've got a need to be approved, They're pushing the price down. They're compressing them into lower products and services. They're pre-discounting because they're coming to you before they go to the customer. So remember, when you think about these things, think about them in phases. Everything's about change management. And so we have to be able to set the idea of this is what the expectation is. And don't let your CFO set their comp plan, by the way. I could go on for hours about that. Because comp plans are just behavioral modification plans. And if I can't get out of bed in the morning as a rep and understand exactly what it is I'm supposed to be doing that's important in my job, your comp plan's written wrong. If your comp plan's paying people on gross margin and your reps have no control over gross margin, you're doing it wrong. If you're paying out an annual bonus versus a monthly or quarterly and you're in a position where you're trying to get things moving, that's not helping you. So one of the ways to align your metrics is to figure out yourself, what would I pay Johnny more to do? Right? Remember this, 84% of buyers expect trusted advisors and 59% of them feel that relationships and interactions are transactional. What? 8.5 out of 10 want a real trusted advisor, but we're so busy doing product-led sales that we aren't leaning into it and going, yes, let me show you how I can become your trusted advisor because we solve this big problem for people all over the place. 6 out of 10 feel like they're buying a car. Heck, sometimes the car transaction's even better. I had my car for 4 years and all of a sudden received random solicitations from the Mercedes dealership about whether it was time to buy a new car. So at least they automated the fact that they didn't want it to be a single transaction. But understand that we have to get to an alignment on metrics. A lot of times you can do that by pulling back and asking one simple question, right? What would you pay? What would you pay more for them to do? For them to do more. If Johnny only did this, we'd crush it. Awesome. This is great stuff. Lastly, oh my goodness, and this is the one that hurts the most. It's one of those things. So we had somebody up on stage yesterday that we talked to, or we pulled somebody into the meeting yesterday. We talked to him, and one of the biggest problems they had was accountability loops. Because here's what we do. We tell our people, you must do this. You must do the thing. And we're gonna measure that. And then we don't measure that. We don't measure the thing. Right? We just simply go do it. And a month later, we come back and we go, darn it, why isn't Jane doing that? And it's because you've got to hold some accountability and push it, but you've held the accountability component, so you're the one who has to do it. One of the tips I gave yesterday, you must push the responsibility and the accountability onto your team so that they're bringing the data. If I wanted somebody to do more call activity, maybe I'd do it, I would do a daily stand-up. If I have people and if it's a call intensive environment, I have to do a daily stand-up, 15 minutes. And sometimes you do it twice in the morning. Hey, how'd you do yesterday? What you're going to do today? Only report numbers, no stories. And then sometimes you do one after lunch. Hey, how'd the morning go? Oh, it was a little slow. How are you going to make up for that? And what are you going to do to do different? But they're bringing the number. I made 15. I made 12. I made 22. I closed 6 deals. Right? So those are some of the things that you can really, really think about, because I think those are important when you talk about accountability loops. You cannot completely automate accountability. You can automate almost everything else. Right? But what are some ways to put in accountability loops? So, daily stand-ups, weekly reporting, or weekly meetings, not reportings. And those are just a couple. End of day. But the one thing that you're going to find in all of these, the only way they work is if the rep owns it. The rep must own it. They must own the responsibility of bringing this stuff. That doesn't mean you can't have your computer up to look at their things too while they're saying it. And I don't know who said it first. Sometimes some people say it was Ronald Reagan. Some people say it's somebody else. But I'm a huge believer in the idea of trust but verify. Trust but verify. Because that's a critical component of this. All right. 5 failure points. And if you know what, if you're here, you're in the chat, you're live on one of our streams, drop in the comments, like, where is your biggest choke point when it comes to failure points that are getting in the way of your ability to scale? Drop it in the comments, drop it in the Facebook group. We haven't mentioned it today, but go to the Facebook group, because this presentation and the assets that we have and all the things, and you'll see this 90-day reset map I'm about to show you, those are all going to be in the Facebook group. They're just in there under files, and they're there for you to get and for you to look at and for you to go ahead and apply to your life and your business. Groovy, I love that. Oh, 1 to 5. But yeah, these are the things that are important. So we dropped it in the chat as well, so take a look at that. All right, so what we're gonna do now, let's talk about, oops, I always do the wrong one. Let's talk about your 90-day roadmap. Right, because what I want to do is I want to be able to walk you through. This is actually in the Built to Scale Facebook group. This is critical. Remember this: if you don't build this plan, you'll be reacting, not scaling. Scaling is about proactive behaviors to put systems, processes in place so that you can actually be proactive instead of reactive. If we surveyed everybody all across the live platforms we have right now, and I said, how many of you feel like you react more than you're proactive? I can tell you right now that 9 out of 10 hands would go in the air. So let's talk about how you can do this, right? Let's get going on this. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to break this down. The 90-day plan is really about 3 months worth of work, being very intentional about the pieces you set up and why and when you set them up in the way you do. So in month 1, you could tell we need to absolutely install the systems, the structure, so that other people know where they fit in the business. So first, these are the things. You can do these in this order. You can take this. I promise you, take the 90-day roadmap and take these things. And if you never talk to Ken Lundeen or Rev Heat again, you will have this. And I promise you what you're going to do. If you follow this roadmap, I promise you this, you're going to send me a note, you're going to send me an email, and you're going to go, holy cow, this changed my future. I don't mean to be overly dramatic, but that's how strong I've seen it. It's taken companies from 2 to 80 million, 98 to 420 million, 10 to 60. And I'm giving you the playbook. So first, what are we going to do? We're going to talk about installing structure. You must define and document deal stages and the exit criteria. We talked about that yesterday, and there's a great worksheet in the Facebook group that shows you exactly how to do that and what you need to consider. Right? Make sure they're mapped then to your CRM system. Don't skip stage 1 though. Do the work the way we talked about it yesterday in day 2. Next, audit the existing processes. Because I promise you, what you think is happening in your business is not if you haven't audited it. Right? We created a checklist. We did that thing. We put a checklist in place that you can do this, but you need to be able to audit those processes, use those documents, get a checklist. What are the scripts? What are the proposals? What are the things that we're doing in a repeatable way? Because even if the stuff you're doing today stinks, here's what I can tell you. You don't know if it's consistent, so you can't even test it and change it. We test everything in business and in our own marketing and sales efforts. We test everything. It's an A/B component, everything. I don't want to be right. I want to be proven right or wrong. Right? So you want to audit those existing processes. You must do this hard work in month one because this is what's going to allow you to kill it in the next few months. When do you hand things off? Or maybe you don't. Maybe you have full cycle account executives and they're going to take it from prospecting all the way to through close and onboarding. Now, I would tell you a mistake a lot of times people make is they give too many non-sales activities to salespeople. So let's get you in a scalable spot where you can then have the resources to split it. And then you've got people aligned to what they are naturally prone to do. We have a company we're working with right now. The guy has a fantastic kind of engineering mind, but he's having to do front-end sales. He crushes it in customer success and onboarding, and we're going to move him there and get him out of the way. Put people where they belong, but design your handoffs very intentionally. Can you see how this can change the scope of your business just by making sure that these things are done? Now that you've done that, you can build the stage definition worksheet. It's amazing. Now, all of a sudden, you have something you can literally put on a computer for every single new hire and go, look, this is how it works. Because you can train the reps on the new stage languages. And remember what we talked about at the end of day 2 yesterday? What we talked about was align that to your buyer's process, so that your reps are reminded why they're doing it, because the buyer needs this thing out of it. So here's the deal. This is part of the Smart Scale 90 system, S90 we call it. And in S90, this is what happens. This is 1 month. Can you see how powerful it would be just to do this 1 month and how that might transform and change your business? It's mind-blowing what it'll do for you. You can get in here and get after it just by doing this one thing. You can be here in 30 days. Oh man, like you can tell, it gets crazy. We gave you the separate sections here that show after the key metrics, what are the milestones, the success metrics, who owns it? Now I know most of you don't have a sales ops lead, so guess what? It's you and somebody really smart. It's a tiger team. But you leave every meeting with actionable items and you come back and you've done the work before the meeting. You know why everybody has meeting fatigue? Because we're not doing any of the darn work outside of the meetings. So here we go. So that's phase 1. Phase 2, we're going to start talking about the people, right? What can we do for the people? We want to make sure it fits right and that they're on board and they're scaled right. You're going to create the role scorecards. What are the expected behaviors that you expect on a weekly basis? I tend to do weekly. You can get more micro into it and do daily. I do weekly as long as I got people who can hit weekly, because I understand Tuesday could be different than Thursday, but only if we have accountability. Right? Once we've created that scorecard, we can have an idea of how fast somebody can succeed in the role, and we can start a 30, 60, 90-day ramp period. We can start to understand that plan. Right? How do we do that? How do we bring people in and get them to success as early and as fast as possible? And then you know what you're going to do? Run 1 onboarding session. Perfect is the enemy of great. I don't know who said it, but it's so darn true. We look for it, actually, believe it or not, in beliefs when we're hiring people. If they have a tendency to show that they need everything to be perfect in order to take action, we do not hire them. It's funny, and I know there's a lot of stuff going on with Elon, but SpaceX, if you didn't make mistakes, you got fired. So we want people to take action, right? Assign mentors, conversations. And then, look, we're like 7 weeks in, and we'll have our first performance coaching session. Collect feedback on how it goes and iterate the scorecards. It's a 90-day process to put all this stuff in place, and then we leave it in place for 90 days, and then we pivot where appropriate. Can you see how powerful this can be? Do you see why I'm so darn excited? I can see why somebody came in and left right away because I can see it on my screen. They walked in and they were like, look at this guy. This guy's way too fired up about this. And so I get it. Right? But let's talk about how you're going to bring this whole thing together and how you're going to put yourself in a position where you have a scalable business by month 3. Right? We're 90 days. That's the promise. 1, you're going to start establishing the weekly pipeline review meetings. Right? We're going to hold the first 4 pipeline reviews. I promise you what's going to happen with this. You start doing this, and inside of 60 days, your win rate will increase by 25%. If you typically close 100,000 a month, I'm going to tell you that you'll close 125,000. You typically close $1 million, you'll close 1.25. Just by simply putting in some of these processes and cadences. We didn't even make the salespeople any better. We didn't train them. We didn't teach them any new sales tricks or ticks. We didn't tell them how to handle objections differently. This is the trick you've been looking for. How do I improve my business without actually having to improve the person? Right? Then we'll publish dashboards. We'll look at win rate, cycle time, coverage. Let the dashboards go live. As we showed it, all the data and they've asked before, your sales cycle time is going to decrease. Right? We'll understand what's the escalation process for stuck deals, right? That deal that they can't quite get through. Who really should be coming up? What conversations should you be having? We had a client just the other day before we fixed this, and they were like, okay, here's the deal. My sales rep escalated to me a deal that's going to be worth $1,000 a month. Right? And they sell $100,000 deals. That's not a great use of his time. So that's just not the world's best use of his time. Right? Then we're going to do bi-weekly role-specific workshops, and we're going to watch the win-loss. We'll refine the coaching topics based on data. As an example, we do that with Close Genie, which I showed you earlier. Because that way I can say to reps, I expect you to go through 3 coaching calls with Close Genie every single day. And then I want you to bring me the progress you've made from your dashboard at the end of the week. How fantastic would that be? Somebody who can actually score the progress that your reps are making on getting better versus the way that they talk to your prospects and clients. And it didn't have to be you. So we'll refine those coaching topics. That's how you get through a 90-day process, right? That's how you get to scalable. Can you see the difference that could make in your life? Because I'm telling you, I've seen it. The $10 million company that we helped says 8 years ago now. It's 10 million, but they had been in a 2.5-year revenue slide. Their lines of credit were completely maxed out. So much so that the month we started with them, they actually had to skip payroll for their management. We implemented the Smart Scale 90 process. They added 2.5 million in revenue in the next 3 months. They added 12.5 million over the next 18 and went from 10 to 22.5. They got to 40 million and got acquired. They got to 50 million because they told the acquirer that they needed us to stay and play. And they got to 60 million. Those founders went from an asset that was going to go bankrupt and bankrupt them to retiring on the sale of their company to New York Stock Exchange listed company. Right? Who did it myself. And I was part of the management team in a company. I didn't even know what I was doing until you look back years later. And we went from 2 to 78 million in 4 years. And here's what I'm going to tell you the weirdest part about that is most people are like, oh, that's awesome. But holy cow, did you ever get to stop working? And I'll tell you the truth. was the easiest job I ever had. Because without even knowing it, we put in the processes and systems to become scalable. So that's why it's so important, right? So it's super important. So I want to talk to you a little bit right now. I mean, just envision, right? Just envision what would be different for you 6 months from now if you did these things. If your company was truly scalable, if you fixed the margin and revenue leaks, if you were able to remove yourselves from being the only one with all the answers, how would it be different? So I'm going to invite you right now. We are only launching this to the virtual audience at this point. We have not gone public with any of this. You will not find this website anywhere else. You will only find it as part of your attendance and your signing up for the Built to Scale workshop. Right. And so I want to talk you through this just amazing program that for the first time ever, we're making available to somebody else that's not going to pay us $100,000. We have clients all the time that pay us $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 to come in and install these systems. And I made a promise to myself about 1.5 years ago that I was going to find a way to help more business owners go through this process. And that the way that I was going to help leave my mark on this world was through helping other people achieve their dreams. Because here's what I'm guessing. You didn't start this business because you wanted to be the sole source of information, the only one with all the answers, the person who gets their Slack pings going off at midnight. You didn't want to be the only one who's waking up in the morning wondering what's happening next. Maybe you've been that person who's been all the way on the other edge where you're like, I don't know. Maybe I'll just give it up. Because I've been there. And I've been there after my bankruptcy in 2011. But maybe that's you. Maybe you're just on the edge. Because here's what I found out about business and life. Business and life will throw things at you that will allow you to think it's okay to stop. And the only thing that's different between you and the uber successful is they're too stubborn to stop. And they will go through the process and through the wall to figure the thing out. So what I'm offering you here is a chance to take a look inside the Komodo and actually just see what a system and process looks like that will get you to scalable so you don't have to rewrite it. You are an expert in your product, your service. You are one of the best in what you do, and you will tell everybody that. But maybe you're even afraid to say, hey, this is one problem I can't figure out. How do I scale my sales? How do I take this company and do what it is? You've probably got a better product or service than anyone you compete with. And then you'll say things to yourself like, the market's soft, tariffs got in the way, politics are keeping buyers from buying. I don't know what it is. People just don't recognize the value in what it is, in what we do. And this is the call to action for you right now to stop that and take responsibility and know this. Your competitor who's bigger than you, they're growing. And if they're not, say you've got a $10 million business, a $5 million business, and your closest competitor is doing 15 or 20. How are they able to do 15 or 20 and you're only doing 5 or 10? There's business to be had. But you have to take a testing approach to it and you have to say, I am willing to go get it. This has nothing to do with knowing any more than anybody else. We're really good at this. that I'm going to tell you the secret on how we got that way. I failed over and over and over and over and over. This is my way of giving back and my way of allowing the community of business owners who are just like me to get on the backs of those super successful companies that we talked about earlier and do it for just a piece of the cost. So let's take a look. I want to show you what's coming with this. You can book a call. I'd love to have you book a call to talk about whether or not you're ready to scale, because it's not even a sales call, y'all. It's a strategy call, and it is us trying to figure out, are you in a position that you can do this? As I said, we are not releasing this anywhere else. I am only taking 7 business owners, 7 companies, because I'm going to work with you directly. You will not get my team except in support. You will get specific access to Ken. But you saw what's possible. Now it's time to scale. You can get to this page. It'll show you some great stuff about what it is we're doing. You can book a call, but you've seen what we're willing to do and how complete this can be. We can simplify this into a process that is fantastic and easy for you to understand. I showed you just briefly Close Genie. It's such an awesome AI tool. Do you want to know whether or not a deal is going to close? You simply open up Close Genie and you ask it, hey, Close Genie, I need help with ABC deal. And then you talk it through the deal. And out the other end comes like you had Ken in your pocket. Okay, great. You want to make it better? Look for these things, and here's your next 2 action steps. How many deals sitting in your pipeline today, right now, are you either overconfident about, or you wonder whether or not they're actually really closable? Right? I'm going to give that to you for 3 months just because it's so powerful. And I want you to be able to close deals today. One of the things we don't want to do is go, oh yeah, install this system and wait for 6 months or 12 months until something happens. I want it to pay for your investment while you're in the program. Next, you heard me mention QuotaFit today. Gosh, companies pay us $15,000 for this one piece. Even just the guidebook's 184 pages. And it is a complete how do I hire and sales system from front to back. You will rewrite your job descriptions like you've never written them. You will get better qualified candidates that will come because of it. You will get a higher quality of candidate that will come because of it. You won't even know the difference. We just helped a company embed this, hire 6 people in the last 4 months because that was their slate. The COO literally came back to me and goes, Ken, I don't know what you're doing and what you did with my team, but these are the best BD people that we've ever had. But I'm going to give you access to this for free. Right? That's part of this program. You get bi-weekly one-on-one calls with me because I know it's not going to be enough just to kind of go through and, oh, Ken said, check the boxes. Right? Normally those are a minimum of $1,000 a month per call. We even underestimated here because I didn't want people to think I was full of it. Right? You'll get access to a mastermind community. If I know the business owners, you'll know the business owners. If there's somebody who can help you in my network, I will absolutely make it. And that network's 15,000 people on LinkedIn as an example. But you'll get exclusive access to that community. You'll get customized sales playbooks. You saw how important that is when we talked about month 1, 2, and 3 today. It's a $10,000 value per playbook. Because we've taken this all and we've put it in a system that we can take your business, mesh it together, and make it so that the best practices in the world on how to grow and scale a company are part of your sales playbook. And then here's the one that just absolutely blew my mind that we did. If you've got any salespeople, you'll understand why. We're actually going to include all of our sales enablement and training for your sales team. We normally charge $3,500 a person. That's $10,500 if you have 3 salespeople. But if you decide you want to be part of this and you want to do the Smart Scale 90 system and you want to work with us, those are the things we're going to give you. So book your scaling strategy call now. You can see the link in the chat. For those of you who are online and in some other forum, you can see it. It's built to scale 2025.com/book. But book your scaling strategy call now. I promise you, you and I will sit and we will diagnose where are you in this process. And if you're not ready, guess what? I'm going to tell you you're not ready, and I'm going to give you the exact steps that you need to put in place before we can help you. It will be one of the most valuable calls that you've ever taken on behalf of your business. This is just awesome. I promise you, this is fantastic. The whole team is behind it. And the people who have experienced our services before all know. If you feel like any of these bottlenecks, that you're the only one who knows how to close, or that your reps aren't ramping up fast enough, or your sales motions are in slides, do you live by the deck? The PowerPoint to show your value? Do you feel like everybody can get to 85% of a decision, but nobody can get to 100? So that tension that you felt while we've been going through the workshop is what we're going to alleviate. So not only will you have a fantastic system that works for you, you'll actually get to breathe. Right? The 3 phases we went through: install, ignite, and accelerate. Be intentional with us. We'll be intentional with you. And where do you think you could be with a system like this 12 months from today? How do you think that would impact your life? Because I've seen the impact that it has on other people. So we've got all this cool stuff. This is where the workshop can really become reality for you, right? This is something, it's a very select offering. We were really just trying to see how can we spread what we know and do the things that we know how to do. Kareem, you can take that off the screen, please. This is the plan, though, right? We have a plan. We're going to give you access to it, right? You're going to get more than $40,000 or $50,000 with additional add-ons if you choose to work with us. The only reason I show you that is because I want you to know that we are investing in you. One of the biggest problems I've ever had in my career was this, is that I've wanted things more than my clients want them. And so this is a chance for me to want it as much as you. So book your scaling strategy call today. Right? This offer is going to close. We're not actually going to offer this past Friday. So book your call today. Get in here and let us help you move your business. All righty. So you can tell I'm super fired up about this. That is absolutely something that we've been using for years on businesses. We had 3 brand new clients come in that asked us to install it for them now. We're actually putting, believe it or not, you want to know what's possible? It's a different program, but we're actually putting an entire go-to-market strategy and scaling strategy in place for a client in 32 days. Because they have a massive amount of leads and business that will be coming at them based on a partnership. And the only thing I want you to take away from that is this. The only limitation that you have is you. Because are you willing to get uncomfortable and be comfortable with it? All right, awesome. I want to jump back real quick. So Kareem, if you could pull up the slides. And this is what you're going to get to see in real time, because I have 3 devices on for this presentation. And one of them just told me that it's going to die. So let me grab a power cord so this doesn't happen. All right, so here I'm back. This is what you get about the live stuff, right? Everybody thinks everything goes all smooth. And the number one way to figure out whether or not somebody's live is whether or not something went sideways. So we've got that. Because last thing is, if we lose that computer, we lose all of us. So I hope that at least somebody is finding this entertaining. Oh, and I've got everything plugged into it. This is an interesting challenge. Huh. All right. Well, we'll see what happens here. So here's the deal. We're going to go fast through this next part based upon computer technology because the way everything's set up is a little goofy. So we're going to figure this out. All right. So let's talk about this. Let's go through, and I want to kind of re-up on what your 90-day plan looks like. I want you to be comfortable with the fact that if you choose to go do this on your own, that you absolutely can. Okay, so here's the deal. What we want to talk about first, understand, get to the right mindset. Every missing detail today is wasted revenue tomorrow. Every missing detail today is wasted revenue tomorrow. It's the first thing that you need to understand. Second, remember, we want to go through this and confirm alignment to buyer behaviors and refine the exit criteria. What does it take to move from one stage to the other? Make sure that every single stage within that process has a single owner. Role-specific scorecards, tailored metrics for each role, not just, hey, make a few more calls. Because you're going to need to understand the conversion rates. Okay, now you can hear me. This is the good news when you have engineers. So I'm going to go back. The mic, look, see how it's green right there? It's got red too. So anyway, here we go. So let's talk real quick about how we can go through this process. What are you going to do in the 90 days? I want to make sure we bring this back in. Okay, let's bring this back into the plan that we have a 90-day plan, right? So one, remember this. I don't know if this was the part we heard or not. Every missing detail today is wasted revenue tomorrow. So don't skip the details. That's one. Two, your personalized stage definitions. We must confirm alignment to buyer behaviors, right? We've talked about that. We need to make sure that's it, and we need to refine the exit criteria from stage to stage. Third, in that exit criteria, ensure that every handoff has one owner. Right? Next, we're going to do the role-specific scorecards and the ramp plans. Tailor each metric to the role. Make sure that we put the hiring profiles in place and that we finalize personal attributes, resilience, consultative mind, sales motions they've been through. Were they a strategic seller now and you've got a tactical seller? Are they a tactical seller now and they're strategic? Did they close 4 deals before and they were successful and you need them to close 20? Because those don't go together. Right? Review the cadence. Set your weekly meeting cadence. Right? Get that together and get that fired up. What does that look like? An example, Monday at 9 a.m., right? With clear agendas, pipeline review, coaching. Put agendas. And by the way, if your sales reps or you aren't starting meetings with agendas, then you're losing momentum in every call. Metrics, dashboards. The problem most of us do is we want to go to metrics and dashboards first before we've done everything else. Can you see how they have to go in order? Because the problem is when you're looking at metrics and you don't have a clear cadence for how you're going to review them, you haven't set in role-specific scorecards, and you don't know that you have the right people in the right job, the metrics are always going to look goofy. Right? Establish a personalized coaching plan, identify the coach, the meeting frequency, the feedback loops. Right? Whether you're going to do it personally or you're going to use something like our Closed Genie AI, make sure that the coaching's in place, because how are they supposed to get better? Hell, there are only 60 schools in the entire United States that actually offer sales as a part of their university program. Most people were like me, they were political science majors and just ended up in sales. Right? Just know, like, if you don't address this blocker now, your plan stalls in 30 days. Like, that's the big one. Think about it. I've got to do this. If I can't get through these steps, nothing's going to change. Right? Another idea that you might want to consider, 83% of sales pros say partner selling drives more revenue. I can tell you that most of the businesses we're in have this. So now you've got that 90-day plan that you can look at, that you can rock on, that you can go forward with. It's in the Facebook group. You can outline for it. It's actually, I uploaded everything in Word documents. I wanted to make it as easy as possible for you. I wanted to make it as easy as possible. Right? So now what I would say is this. We'll wrap today, but you have to move now or risk being outpaced by others who are onboarded, right? You have to move now or you're going to risk being left behind by your competitors. We are not doing theories and templates with Smart Scale 90, right? Just a system built with you. We don't just give you some LMS and tell you to read some stuff. This is for founders who are done guessing, done managing deals from Slack, done holding the whole thing together like they're the glue. So come in and apply today. Get in here, apply today, and let's have a conversation. If you want to know more about it, there's a 3-minute video on the site as well that'll talk you through some of the stuff. But here's what you get if you come in. First, it's not a sales call. We're going to go through a strategy session. We're going to diagnose whether or not you're a fit first. And second, if you're not, exactly what steps you can take to put yourself in a position to be able to scale. Right? Then you're going to get access to Close Genie for 3 months, which is just under a $900 value. It's like having me in your pocket to analyze every single deal that you have in your pipeline. You get Quota Fit, which is our sales hiring and training system, which is normally $15,000 for us just to have a 4-week conversation with somebody and install it in their company. You get bi-weekly one-on-ones, so you stay in motion, which is $3,000 value, where you get to talk exactly to me and not my team. They even put my team's value on here, not mine. You'll get access to the exclusive mastermind community, customized sales playbooks, which are normally valued at $10,000 a piece, and sales training for each of your team members, including you, which we normally value at $3,500 per person. I can tell you right now that I am super excited about the opportunity to talk to you and work with you. And Kareem, you can knock that off the screen. But the truth is this, I can't do it for you. But if you're tired of where you are, if you want more out of your business, if you're tired of being frustrated and running your head into the same wall every time it comes to hiring salespeople, figuring out sales process, understanding what clients want, if you have a product or service that you know is fantastic for the people that you serve, my question to you is, why wouldn't you want to get it in the hands of more people? Why wouldn't you want to give more people the opportunity to get the value from your labor of love? So whether you have doubts and questions about whether you're ready, about me, about Smart Scale 90, about anything we've gone through in the last 3 days, but if you know that you're destined for more, if you know that you'll take action and that you can stay in motion for just 90 days, I'll put you in a position where you can realize all your business dreams. Because I got to ask you, what's going to be different for you in 1 year if you take no action today? Or what will be different for you by the end of the year if you take action and make the changes to realize your dreams? I am so excited and appreciative of all of you who showed up in the Zoom room and live. And I am super excited to see who it is that comes through and has a conversation with me to figure out can they scale their business and how we can help. So just in case you forgot, I'm Ken Lundeen, president of RevHeat, and we'll see you on the other side.